The first thing to understand is that war is loud. It is loud in ways that never really leave the body. Even when the guns stop firing, the noise stays behind, vibrating in memory, in sleep, in the smallest moments of silence. This story begins in that noise, somewhere far from the Philippines, far from palm trees and warm seas, in a place where the cold bites deep into the bones and the nights feel endless. It was winter. Snow pressed down on the earth like a heavy blanket, swallowing sound, making everything feel unreal. A group of soldiers stood on duty, fingers numb inside their gloves, rifles resting against their chests. They were trained men, disciplined, taught to react instantly to threat. They had learned to ignore fear, hunger, exhaustion. But no training prepares you for what happens when something gentle enters a violent space. Across the frozen distance, a sound drifted into the night. At first, it was barely noticeable, a soft melody, fragile, almost unsure of itself. It did not sound like a military signal or a warning. It did not carry the sharp edge of an order. It was slow, steady, and warm in a way the air was not. It was a lullaby. Not many of the soldiers understood the words. Some did not even recognize the language. But the melody did something strange. It slipped past the armor of the mind, past the layers built to survive war. It moved like memory, like something half forgotten from childhood. A mother's voice, a dimly lit room, the feeling of being safe before the world demanded anything from you. The song was Filipino. Thousands of kilometers away from the islands where it was born, the lullaby carried with it generations of care, of parents singing children to sleep after long days, of homes where love was expressed not in grand gestures, but in quiet presence. It was not meant to be heard on a battlefield. It was never meant to face guns. Yet there it was. One soldier shifted his weight, listening. Another tilted his head slightly, confused by the sudden tightness in his chest. Someone lowered his rifle just a little, not even realizing he had done it. The song continued, unbroken, patient, as if it had all the time in the world. The human brain is strange like that. It can catalog violence, normalize it, turn it into routine. But music does something different. It reminds us that before we were soldiers, we were children. Before we learned to aim, we learned to listen. The voice singing was not powerful in the way an anthem is powerful. It did not shout. It did not demand. It simply existed. Soft, consistent, unafraid. One of the soldiers later said that for a moment, he forgot where he was. He forgot the cold, the tension, the reason he was there. He remembered his own mother, humming while cooking, the radio playing quietly in the background. He remembered a time when his hands were empty, when they did not hold weapons. The lullaby did not ask them to stop fighting. It did not tell them to drop their guns. It did not speak of politics, borders, or enemies. It spoke only of rest, of peace, of the simple act of closing your eyes and letting go. And that is why it was dangerous in a way no weapon could be. Slowly, almost hesitantly, rifles were lowered. Some were rested against the snow. No orders were given. No agreement was spoken aloud. It was a shared, silent understanding that something human had interrupted something inhuman. Time seemed to stretch. The song ended, but the silence afterward was different from the silence before. It was heavier, filled with thought, with doubt, with the uncomfortable realization that the person on the other side of the line was not a monster, but someone who knew songs too. This is not a story about a miracle that ended a war. No lullaby can do that on its own. The fighting did not magically disappear forever. History did not suddenly change course. But something shifted, even if only briefly, in the hearts of the people who heard that song. And that matters, because wars are not only fought with weapons, they are sustained by stories we tell ourselves about the other side. Stories that make it easier to pull the trigger, Stories that strip away faces, names, voices. A lullaby does the opposite. It gives back a voice. It reminds you that someone, somewhere, once sang to the person you are meant to see as an enemy. In Filipino culture, lullabies are often simple, repetitive, almost meditative. They are not about impressing anyone. They are about comfort, about reassurance, about saying, without words, "You are safe right now." That intention does not disappear just because the song travels far from home. When that melody crossed borders, climates, and ideologies, it carried with it the quiet resistance of tenderness. It proved that softness can exist even where it does not belong, and that when it does, it can be disarming in the most literal sense. Later, when asked why they lowered their weapons, some soldiers struggled to explain. There was no strategic reason, no command from above, just a feeling, a pause, a moment where pulling the trigger them felt impossible. One of them said, "It didn't feel right anymore." That sentence says more than any analysis ever could. We often think of power as something loud and forceful. Tanks, missiles, commands shouted through megaphones. But sometimes power arrives quietly, wrapped in melody, reminding us of who we were before the world hardened us. A Filipino lullaby did not conquer an army. It did not rewrite history books overnight, but it reached into a frozen place, both on the ground and in the heart, and made soldiers hesitate. And in a world where hesitation can mean the difference between life and death, that is no small thing. Long after the snow melted, long after the soldiers moved on, the memory of that song remained. Not as a tactical event, but as a human one. A reminder that even in the darkest moments, something as simple as a voice can cut through the noise. Because no matter how far we travel from home, no matter what uniforms we wear or orders we follow, we all come from somewhere. We all began with someone singing to us in the dark, promising, even if just for a moment, that everything would be okay.